So we're going to leave it there if it is what it is, and we're going to move into our next topic. And it's also an EWC topic, Esports World Cup. We're going to be moving into Overwatch at EWC, and there's a lot to talk about here. We're going to be talking about hero pick bans. This is the first time we're seeing it implemented in this way. We're going to run down what the format was and what kind of happened in a later episode. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to be breaking down pick ratios, ban ratios, as well as what maps it was on and teams it was against, because that became the big focal point. How is it going to work? How are people and teams going to strategize for this? And there's a lot to it, man. And let's just get into it. But we're going to start by getting into the breakdown. We're going to just go right into the prize pool and the tournament winners. NA showed up to this tournament. Something we didn't expect, but they did well. You know, especially after DreamHack, we weren't thinking they were going to make any sort of impact or impression, but they were able to get themselves together for this tournament and really ran the bracket for a while. Here we go. Crazy Raccoon, though, overcoming everybody else. First place with a $400,000 first prize prize. Shu as the MVP for the tournament. Shu was impeccable as a support player throughout the tournament. Was able to just sustain and make those plays happen and also be an offensive threat, which you come to know Shu as being. Toronto Ultra taking second place with a $160,000 prize pool. Team Falcons and Zeta coming in on third and fourth, respectfully, and walking away with 80 grand. We keep talking about Team Falcons, man, but you know, that was a Korean team that was able to make some money here. Fight all these teams overall. So this standing set, does it surprise you a little bit? Is it a little bit off from what you were expecting, Nick?
No, I think, like, what did we talk about the last time that we talked about this? I think, like, I was really interested to see how, like, M80 was going to do. I was going to watch them. I think I'm not even joking, because of the name Crazy Raccoons. I think they've been like the guys that we've just like, yo, Crazy Raccoons, let's get it. Let's get it. Like, I think we're quoted every time they come up in something of just being like, let's go. Crazy Trash Pandas.
Yeah, and that was an organization that picked up that team pretty late in the season for Korea and the APAC region. So going to the moniker of Crazy Raccoons is a bit of a surprise, but it's definitely fitting the bill, and they're doing crazy right now. They're going crazy right now, and it doesn't seem like any other team can just sustain at the level that they are sustaining. And it's proof is in the pudding. That's two major tournaments they've won. A major tournament with a pick ban system for the first time. But you know, looking at some of the other teams that we were expecting, I'm going to go into the brackets in just a second. But here we are with the whole place. M80 doing a little worse than we thought we were expecting to do, but.
Yeah, I mean, we had some like hiccups, right? Like that, they had so many hiccups on their roster. Even like recently before starting the Esports World Cup, right? So, you know, that's why we're watching them, right? Like we want to see how well they're going to do with all these difficulties, these trials and tribulations that they're going through with their team. So, you know, like 10th place, not bad.
Yeah, and the overall issues with like meta or even just being NA, the level of competition has been questioned hand in mouth over and over again. Is that the saying? Hand and foot, hand and mouth? But yeah, it's being questioned a lot. But another team that kind of surprised us was Twisted Minds, another team that had issues with rosters, and they ended up doing a lot better than some would expect here. The team, I have to say though, the team from China, LGDOA, they were knocked out pretty early, fairly early. They kind of showed up, but they really didn't do a great job after groups. So like,
that's fine.
You know, it happens.
That's a borrowed team, you know? So it's a combo. It's a hybrid. So they have like two different teams that came together to form a team. So like their synergy's not there. It's like it's all good. Like just the fact of like getting some good plays in, right? And like it's like how much time did they have to practice? Like the LGG OA, right? It's something I can't remember what it was, right? It's something with a W. Oh my god.
Yeah, but just
it's two teams.
Just jumping in too, we're talking about Overwatch League level players, and I think you're right where it's like it's been a while since at least a year about a year since Overwatch League. About a year. I had to math my head. But you've got these players like Gushue, Langsa, Monk, Shy, Leave. They're considered some of the best in their roles ever to do the thing. They're great players. They might not just have been able to shake the rust off in the current meta. They might not have been able to size themselves up at an international tournament like this because they haven't done it in a while. And this, you can also see at the bottom here, their way in was an invite. Other teams had to win stages and win regions, and this is just showing they were invited. And I'm not knocking that. Having that representation, having that inclusion because that area has been excluded for a little bit isn't a bad thing, but maybe that was one of the hiccups and speed bumps they had to run out and run through. And they just kind of couldn't do it this first go around. Maybe the pick ban system also just kind of knocked them because Gushue is definitely known as the monkey guy. But, you know, I do know he has some flexibility, but that was maybe the name of the game. Maybe it shook them on the time frame, the prepping, etc. I'm going to roll this up into... Let me bring us over to this screen while I get us into the brackets, because the brackets were interesting, to say the least.
Hey, Billy here. Wanted to take a quick minute to let you know a few different things. If you enjoyed the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out and it tells the algorithm to share it with more people. You can find the Esports Meta live every week on Twitch and YouTube. It's where we film the podcast or hang out, play games, and chat. If social media is more your vibe, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, or Twitter if you use Threads. Does anybody use Threads? This is a video game community that's excited to talk about esports, so jump into the conversation. Of course, you can find more videos like this here on YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button right there or there. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to the show.
We're going to start off by looking at the group stages once I get to the brackets, and we're going to see which teams got knocked off and then see which teams brought the pain into the playoffs, into the single elimination. All right, so Group A ultimately became like the most not competitive, but like one-sided. A lot of 3-0s there. ROC Esports, Rock Esports just got knocked out immediately from that with a -9. MKers also went 0-3, couldn't take a single round, a single map. Nightmare was able to do some fighting, and that was one that was probably more competitive in that sense in Group D. And then Bleed Esports walking away with the 0-3. That one I think is interesting because M80 coming out with the 1-2. They are in a group with Zeta Division and ENCE. ENCE is a pretty strong EU team. Zeta Division is a pretty strong APAC team. You would kind of hope and kind of think they were able to do a little bit more than that, but that's where, they squeak it out in the group stages, but not quite able to make it far into the single elimination brackets as we're about to see. Actually, before I go into this, Nick, with these knockouts, I know we had our predictions. Do you recall, any sort of vibe or sentiment, even just with seeing the results?
No, I think my predictions were disrespectful. Like, I think when I was doing them, I was just like, yeah. And so you're like, I think I said like ENCE is gonna lose. They're gonna come in fourth, and you're like, no, they're pretty good though, man. Like they're actually kind of solid. And I'm like, they're trash. Like I think that's might have been like what it was. I think Rock Esports might have been the one that I called. Like.
Yeah, I think as like a wishful thinking, dark horse sort of mentality. But man, they went 0-9 in maps. They just got 0-3'd by 3 different teams.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Rough tournament for
Absolutely
them.
Absolutely rough.
All right, so let's take a look at the brackets here, man. Because I was a little bit surprised at the group stages. Some of the people in more of that second and third place. Kind of expectations that kind of shook up, but looking at the brackets, I think it kind of came into full spectrum here. Your boys ENCE, they didn't get past second wave. They were able to what's it called, 4-2 Fnatic, which I know was another spicy, but this might have been.
I definitely call that. I definitely, because I shit on Fnatic all the time because they sell socks.
This was the battle of Nick's spicy takes right here, and the spicier take ended up going into the lion's den, the crazy raccoon den, and getting 4-0'd. So it was a lose-lose situation for them. But it did guarantee them a bit more prize pool. I think double prize pool. Team Falcons took on M80 immediately in this play-in round 1. And that was not quick 4-0. I want to say it's quick 4-0 to be disrespectful, because they looked flat. They didn't look like they could do anything against that APAC region, and they just did not have any flexibility for the pick bans and whatnot. Space Station also taking a 4-0 over Gaming Gladiators. Gaming was another team we were kind of skeptical on, but did show some promise, and they just couldn't do anything with that promise. Then Toronto Ultra just taking it to the team from China, LGDOA, and just running the board from there up until they met that crazy raccoon den in the finals.
That's a real shame. That's a real shame for them. Just like running the gauntlet and then just getting swatted down. Absolutely sucks. But hey, at least they made it to second place, right?
And you could argue that the teams they played in the first 2 rounds here are weaker in that way. Twisted Minds, LGD. But they definitely had their hands full with Zeta Division, and they pulled it out. It was a close match, probably closer than they want to be, but they trash talked it. They pointed to the fences. We want crazy raccoons, and they got it. And they ended up getting the one map that they said they wanted to at least start with that. And I think that's pretty much the big conversation for that, because it was a lot that happened here. A lot overall for Toronto. So worthwhile to watch the VOD, especially for this game here, Zeta Division and Toronto Ultra. I do have to chime in, and I should have prepared this a little bit before. Let me bring it back here. But Nick, do you know what an Ajax is in Overwatch?
I have no idea, bro.
All right. So an Ajax is when a Lucio goes to drop the beat, his ultimate, but before he hits the ground and before he activates the ultimate, which activates when he hits the ground or solid surface, he gets killed. He gets stunned out of it. He gets killed. It's interrupted. It's stopped. So the most expensive Ajax in the world, in history, probably happened in that match of Zeta Division versus Toronto.
And you lose the ultimate, right? You lose your ult because he gets canceled inside the cast.
Correct. Okay, so I'm going to scroll through this. We're going to do this live. Let me see if I can find it. We're talking about Violet. He was the Lucio player for this. It was the last round. There we go. Runasapi was the map. We're talking 3-3. Winner of this round, this map, takes home. Well, it doesn't take home. They go to the finals. They play Crazy Raccoons. It's already decided. This is a best of 7. It's on the line. It's neck and neck, back and forth. Toronto is running a poke comp with the Sigma. Zeta is going more dive with the Diva, bringing in Bernard for this map specifically to run that. And for some reason, Violet, running Lucio, sees something and tries to make a play. And let's bring it a little bit closer to here and run that play. Immediately destroyed. Here's a little bit of the precursor on that. I'll bring the volume down while we talk about it. They're doing the poke around this corner. They have the bot. They're pushing. They have the lead, right? For some reason, he sees something here with his team. He says, go, go, go. He takes a large angle, and then Bap pops window, and he is nuked. Violet is nuked. This Ajax, this ult nullification cost the team $80,000. Right there. $80,000 was on the line with that ult interruption, and the momentum shifts from this point out, and they lose the game and then take home 3rd, 4th place. That is super unfortunate. It's been a thing a lot of people have been talking about, that mistake. That was such a large angle to take to try to make that play happen on the beat. Nick, this is the first time you're seeing it. What are your thoughts here? Because there's a lot to talk about for sure. And I don't want to harp too much on this guy because I'm sure he's feeling it already. But what are you thinking?
No harping on it, bro. His brain went full bronze. He thought about it too much. Like he went full bronze. He just thought about it too much. And like that, instead of playing exactly what he knew he had, like he should play, he just went full bronze with it. It happens to everybody. Like, it happens to everybody, not at, an $80,000 juncture like this, but right there in the video, like he has clear cover to do this. He can wall ride the same distance and get there, like literally still pull people up. So,
right.
Like he just overthought it, did the wrong thing, and thought, look, everybody's throwing shit at him, dude. They had him locked on, bro. He drops the rock, man. Even the rock was going on him, bro. Like Magneto and Madara was coming out and just throwing rocks at this kid. Like absolutely ridiculous. Like you can see it. So like he just steps out. He steps out thinking he's too clean with it. It's a full bronze moment. That's all. Like not a bad player, just a bad moment.
You make a couple good points. A, they're locked onto him. They know he has beat. They're calling out for it. They're kind of, this and that. B, he could have easily just beat it on that ledge he's on. I don't think it's a line of sight issue. I think it was a go call. But I think, watch here, when the go call happens, he's got amplify up. He amps healing to keep the cast up, but then he switches into speed, and that might have been the thing. It overshot. Not just overshot, but like he went to the other side of the road with that one, and that might have
too high anyway.
But I think
you notice that he went too high, and went too far out.
That might have been the thing. He could have beat it on the ledge of this and hit LOS of everybody for that beat, so they could have committed to the fight. But I think he amps up the heal on the cast here, and then he switches to speed, and in doing so, he wall rides too. There it is. He clips the door frame, wall rides, so it gives him more height and distance on that amp speed, and then he just loses the beat and loses the fight for his team.
But like being a person who's not the best Overwatch player here, right? I only make platinum because I don't try, but maybe I could do higher. Who knows? Not the best though, right? But again, I'm just a fancy platinum player here, right? Like he's got a diva. Like hold on, like he's got a diva, bro. That's it. Like he's got a diva. What the fuck is he on the front for, man? Like Diva didn't even move. The Diva, he's in front of Diva. He's just straight up in front of Diva for the most part, for a good portion of that.
Diva probably didn't have Matrix either. Diva wasn't flashing Matrix for him either. So like there was a little bit of a discrepancy. Maybe they didn't have it already. He had used all the cooldown on it. Etc. Like there's a little bit of discrepancy. He saw something. He said go, or somebody said go. He went before everybody else, and that amp speed maybe launched him a bit further. And I mean, one could argue it cost them a game, but this is pretty early in the match. Another 7 minutes left to go here. So, like, there's definitely room for them to come back, but it was pretty much the Toronto show after this point. They were able to just have ult advantage, able to just control the fights, control the point, never let them really take it past mid here. And that was kind of it. But it was something I wanted to highlight in the results of this match, this game, because this was specifically a very close match, well worth watching the VOD for, skipping all the ads and the commentators in between, but watching the gameplay because it was very exciting, and it made a huge difference because NA was able to then take second place instead of third place, and was able to walk away with an extra 80 grand at a total of 160,000 versus Zeta's only 80,000. Man, it's a rough
so that
break.
was like final round. That was final round, right?
That was second to final. So what is it? Semifinals.
How deep into the match was it again? It was early in the match, right?
That was the last map. So it was 3-3.
Okay, so
last map, 3 minutes into a 10-minute game.
Yeah, he knew like. But I've told you this in League of Legends before, right? At 10 minutes, if you're dying. If you're the person who's dead at 10 minutes, like you're probably the reason why your team is losing the game, like just in general. And I'm not like, and that doesn't really go for Overwatch, right? But like he knew what he's supposed to do, and he thought too much about what he should do, right? Like he knew what he had to do. He's trained for this. They practiced it. They've done scrims. He know he's supposed to stay behind cover. They definitely had his number this whole game. It looked like he was eating sandwiches just from this VOD. dude. Like, I'm just saying, man. Like, it's rough. It's rough.
Violet's a great player. He like you said, he knows what he's doing. That seemed like unlucky with the amp switching to speed and like launching like that, and then it just a miscommunication, a mistiming. He went a little early, and Toronto had his number. They were expecting it. They were looking for him. They were able to stop the beat.
True.
That's
true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you do say it right. You think he saw something, and like. Usually in these moments when like this is what I'm saying, like you know what you're supposed to do, right? Everybody's still on that other plan. His plan could have totally worked, right? What he saw could have totally happened. The problem is just that, not everybody else saw it, and they're just not willing to like immediately go on that thing, right? Like it was like go, and it's just like, oh shit, we're going. All right, like holy shit, hold on, like instead of like looking for the opportunity, they're looking for what they should like. It's like playing too by the book. But like Overwatch, like it happens in League a lot, like where people play to what the book says you should do. When like there's an opportunity like right there where like really what you're supposed to do in this exact moment. I don't know if it's for this one, but like in that exact moment, you're supposed to make this certain play where everybody responds to it. And if two people don't respond to it properly, the play is wasted, right? And then like you look like oh, look at this guy. Why is he even here? Like, like where did we get this guy from? Home Depot? Like, no, but as I said, like, this is a good player. He's just thinking about it too much, and it's just a bad moment, not a bad player.
Definitely a tough one, and it's going to be one of those infamous moments as well. Just like why we name things Ajax, because I believe the player Ajax basically had it happen multiple times in a single game, or had it multiple times over a career. C9 happening because Cloud9 famously forgot the cart for a lot of times, multiple times. And it's just unfortunate. Definitely unfortunate, definitely embarrassing, definitely a bit of miscommunication, like we even said with the Diva cooldowns. They weren't flashing Matrix. They maybe didn't have the cooldown up. They didn't have the juice to flash it, but it is what it is. It was an exciting match. That was one of the reasons and one of the things that made it exciting. But another big reason this tournament was exciting was because of the pick ban system. So as we wrap up this subject, let's hit our final point with Overwatch before we move into looking forward in Esports World Cup and a little bit of the rest of LCK and LCS expectations and predictions. But let's take a look at the hero bans of this past tournament for Overwatch. This was the first time hero bans have ever been done on a tournament of this scale, of this professional level. It has a lot at risk. It was very well thought out and very well discussed by the community. And ultimately, the community sentiment is this was awesome. It was really cool to see, and the specific nuance, just to remind you, if you weren't paying attention or not quite sure how it worked, we got the format for you. So hero bans, each team got to ban one hero. Loser generally picked, and I think the lower seed started off by picking, and they got to pick if they got first ban or second ban after they pick map. With that, when they pick a hero, they can only pick a hero once. So if you pick Lucio, you cannot pick Lucio again for the entire rest of the match, but your team could. If you pick Lucio, you could also not pick, the other team cannot pick another character in the support role. So the two caveats: the ban applies to both teams, and the team who picks it cannot pick that hero again. The other team cannot pick another hero in that same role. Right? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So you'll never see DPS, healer. It's just going to be one of each role, regardless of whatever the teams pick.
Exactly. And it means you have to be more surgical with dismantling comps or teams or players. If you're going to ban that Lucio one trick, you can only do it one time, right? And that was one of the speculations we had for people like Funny Astro, who's like the Lucio player. How many times would they ban him, or would they look towards other things and doing that? We're going to have a full breakdown of ban rates next week and a story, so stick around for that. But just kind of overviewing what happened at the tournament, that was the system. And here's the general picks, Baptiste, Brig, Lucio, Wrecking Ball, Echo, Malga, Sigma, Baptiste. We're seeing a lot of different teams. And like here we have Ents and Fnatic. So like we're talking about a brawl heavy team, and I'm not super familiar what Fnatic likes to run, but generally speaking, it seemed that Fnatic wanted to stop a poke comp, Malga comp, like I guess against a Ramattra, like a Ramattra counter. They're trying to stop like an Echo Tracer dive kind of thing. And then Ents is looking at like the faster stuff, Lucio, Wrecking Ball, maybe Brig for an Ana comp, maybe a Baptiste. Like, so like you start seeing them pick for teams, they start seeing them pick for maps, and maybe a better way to look at it. What's that?
No, go back to that real quick.
Okay. What do you see, Nick?
I see Fnatic wasting a ban with Baptiste. Just in general, like if they banned it first, like if Ents banned that first, by the way, they don't care about playing it. Like they can play it, but they were like, I don't give a shit. It's first game. Like ban this thing out.
I think that one might be like a throwaway. Yeah, you're right. I think it might be a throwaway, but it might be a throwaway on a map that they don't really play Baptiste on. That's Lijiang. Maybe you play it on server or control room, the indoor one where Rhine is really good, and that's a Rhine team. Literally, Rhine's shield is the size of the door, so if you control point, you're blocking the whole choke point, really. So maybe they threw Baptiste in there to get it out of the way so they could play it later on, you know. But then, you know, in Coliseo, Fnatic bans Baptiste again, so I guess they were expecting Baptiste to be a big point of it. And that's like the interesting part of it. You know, what is a throwaway pick on purpose just to get it out of the way, so it's something to do right now? What's a deception pick? What's a preventative pick, stopping your other team from playing? And what's a optimization pick for you to make sure that you get to play later on, or etc. You know, and that was the depth and dimension that we did see with these picks. And I was going to move us into Crazy Raccoon and Toronto Ultra before we move on to another topic, because I think this might be more where teams and players got a better feel of it. And you're talking about the two teams that performed the best, statistically at the very least, really like show what they were intending to do and what they were doing. So here we have is Raccoons banning Kiriko, Lucio, Alari. So 3 healers off the bat, basically limiting Toronto's support line. So they saw them, there's a good chance they saw them as the initial threat, as the composition push, and that they wanted to just like dismantle them through their support line, either through the bans or be able to like dive them, because they ran a lot of dives. Beyond that, they banned Malga, Lifeweaver. So like Lifeweaver one feels like a throwaway. Like we're saying, that's last map. That feels like, yeah, we don't even care. We're going to take it no matter what.
Yeah, like, I mean, and so, like, I noticed there's only, like, a few teams that end up banning, like, the same champions or same characters in their matches. And, like, I don't know, anytime that... I really do feel this, like, and this is the same thing, like, in other games, but, like, if you're banning at the support, like, supports are great, but, like, if you're first ban, you come out this, you're, like, support. And people are like, no, we're going to ban a tank or a DPS. Like, I mean, they have to ban a tank or a DPS, but, like, it's pretty disrespectful. Like, come out and be like, I don't even think your DPS got it, bro. Like, it's just...
Right, and that's the thing. I wish there was more of a breakdown of like the pick order, because loser picks map, and then loser gets to choose who gets the ban first. And generally speaking, I would assume you would take the ban first, but I could see there's some strategy in taking the ban second. So I would like to see a bit more breakdown as far as that information goes. But you're right, like off the bat, it's a good chance that like Crazy Raccoons actually took the first ban pick, because it was just neutral and, you know, they, you know, this and that. Or if Toronto took that first pick, them banning Wrecking Ball was just maybe limiting the looks they would expect to see on that map. I know my boy Yeedle He's always playing. He used to always play Wrecking Ball. I think he's doing 50 hours of Tracer right now. But he'd always say on Wrecking Ball, you don't lose on Lijiang. We always win on Lijiang. So maybe that was the thought process for Toronto. You counter Wrecking Ball because Wrecking Ball wins on Lijiang. It could have also been to like just limit the scope of what they're expected to see. They're expecting to see the Winston. They're expecting to see the Doom on that first map to kind of just limit what they're what they're going to play against. Beyond that, they're going after the APAC Pacific region dive. Winston, Lucio, Diva, and then the kind of random Pharah. But we know APAC likes to play Pharah. We know Pharah's been kind of nuts. But at high levels, I'm sure you could just have a hit scan pop off and keep them in check for sure. But this was what made the depth interesting. Oh, and the big thing I didn't really get to say before, it was something I learned after the fact. They only had 90 seconds to make the map and the ban picks overall between both teams, I believe. So it moved quick.
So that's super short. Do they have their coach on stage or is it just the players?
Yes. They had their coach on stage and the coach was not able to communicate with them during matches, but in between matches they could.
Yeah. All right. I mean, that's fine. But so one thing pretty specific, like everybody should realize, like, especially Toronto Ultra, right? Like Crazy Raccoons is not like playing against Kiriko. I'm not even joking. Like they banned it in all three.
Yeah.
Like it was the first ban on the first one, first ban on the last one. It was the third ban on the second one. Like there's a reason why, but they probably find Kiriko to be a little bit, a little bit helpful against them in the comp that they're trying to play against, or they're trying to play. Sorry.
Probably just a little too slippery and a little defensive with that Suzu. And they banned it on Ilios, Suravasa, and then the last one, Lijiang. Ilios and Lijiang were both first picks, first ones right out the gate as well. So that might have been a informed strategy just to start with, like a coach strategy, like let's start strong, let's get the map win, let's pull this one out. They save Kiriko against Team Falcons, which is a rival of theirs from the APAC region. They save it for the third match on Suravasa, which is a flashpoint. Yes, it's a flashpoint. So that one makes a little less sense to me. Maybe that was a a reaction pick. Or I guess, I don't know. They did lose the second map of Runasapi, and this was a pick, so maybe they was their first pick. So maybe this was like, okay, let's throw this out and make a strong foot because it's 1-1. Let's just take this match control back.
Yeah, without a full deep dive, there are multiple different reasons. Like Kiriko could be, in their opinion, could be one of the stronger just healers in general, right? Supports in general, not healers, but supports. Where they're always thinking about when they have to ban it and stuff like that. But that, that's just a quick notice on without doing a deep dive.
Right. And I'm not sure how much of a total deep dive we're going to be able to do because there is some information that's missing. And if you do know where to find it, I'd love to know pick order, ban order for this stuff, what ended up getting decided during the matches. Because even watching the VODs back, it's hard to say, hard to tell. Plus, that's a lot of time to commit again to that. But either way, it made the competition really interesting. Stick around to check out our further depth and statistics. We're going to try to come with that next week, just so we get a ban percentage, see how that played out, and see if we can maybe suss out some more analysis and information from that. I'd love to see this system in future tournaments. I'd love to see them implement it in Stage 3 for Overwatch Championship Series.
Yeah, this one is this pick and ban phase for Overwatch, as you just said before, needs to be extended a little bit, but this one fits Overwatch and what they're the style of Overwatch with this is chess not checkers, everybody, and there's just always trying to do a very chessy style pick bans, team comps, or it's very, very chess oriented, rock, paper, scissors oriented. I would love to see some weird bans where you ban for what you switch to. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, they think we're going to play this and we ban that. And then like, boom, they're just doing they're doing something else on this one map or something like that, you know?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how this evolves, like you're saying, what choices happen. I think this was a good first foot forward. I was personally in the camp of like not really leaning towards pick ban systems, because a lot of games that introduce pick ban systems, the game becomes more about picking and banning, and rather than being one tool in the toolbox for stuff, one aspect. And of course, you know, that comes with good design and good balance and overall health of the game over a long period of time, which waxes and wanes, of course, but I ended up enjoying this one, and I'd like to see it happen more, maybe refined a little bit, but I thought that was beautifully done. Any final thoughts on the Overwatch stuff before we move into what to expect in the next week of EWC?
No, I'm excited for the future of it, and I think the only thing that I really have to end with it would be, I wish they would have started off with less restrictions on the way that the way the bans work, and I hope because it'll be hard to evolve on less restrictions going forward, where like you can only have a support and a tank get banned, or a DPS and a support get banned, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. But you know, it's right in the right direction.
I see where you're coming from on that, and like just to kind of counterpoint you really quick, I like that phrasing of it, because it essentially created two picks with only one pick. Like, not two picks, but like it kind of was like a defensive part of the pick as well. You can't pick another support, you know, if I pick support, something like that. And like that, it felt simple but effective and like not overly complicated. So maybe not an evolution, maybe a total adaptation or a change to that. But that, like, I think we both agree this was a good first step in pick bans for Overwatch. And it'd be cool to see if it's implied in what happens over the, you know, the lifetime of the game, the upcoming tournaments, especially if it's going to take you know, a lot of the same system and styles as League has or Dota has.
Oh, don't do that. Pick and ban phase. Like, it's what they're trying to cut down over there. We got 5 bans per side. Like, our coaches on stage, there's time in between.
Yeah, like talking about chess matches.
Like, yeah, no, like it's a little much over on that side. But you know, keeping this under like a 5-minute thing for the whole entire thing, like I think 1.5 minutes is a little bit short. But you know, let it evolve, let it breathe. We'll see how people feel. Mostly like the pros. I want the pros to walk away from this thing and then basically give us their opinion, because you know, who the fuck am I?
And that 90 seconds gives a more of a fighting game feel. It's something we're very familiar with, like the bans, the map bans, and the map picks for fighting games in between rounds on stage like that. And they're able to do it quickly because it's just directly them. But you know, that I got that feeling from that 90-second limit, and I kind of welcome it. But you know, speaking of fighting games, we do need to move on to our next topic, and we're going to